Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier is by many considered the best clubbing fragrance on the market. Is it really that good, and what properties do a clubbing fragrance really need to have to make it a good clubbing fragrance? To get the answers on those questions, all you need to do is stay tuned. We'll take a closer look at Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier next here on Nordic Fragrance. Hi, my name is Tommy. Thank you so much for tuning into my channel Nordic Fragrance. Today we are going to review this fragrance right here. It's called Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. So Ultra Male is classified as an oriental fougere, mainly because it contains vanilla, which makes it an oriental, and it contains a little bit of lavender, which makes it a kind of a fougere fragrance. So let's take a closer look at the presentation and the bottle of Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. So the first thing you really notice is that Ultra Male doesn't come in an ordinary box like all other fragrances. This one is delivered in a tin can box, which says Jean Paul Gaultier and Ultra Male here on the front. I think this is a really nice touch to this, and this really makes this fragrance stand out in the shelf. The bottle itself is the classical Le Male torso. This one is in dark blue and black stripes. On the top we have a stopper here that you pull out, and the sprayer, very nice sprayer. This is a really top class sprayer. So many people think that this tin can and this presentation with the torso and everything is a little bit over the top. Personally, I do like it a lot. I think it's a little playful, and that reflects the kind of fragrance that is inside this one, because it is kind of a playful fragrance inside of this bottle. So overall, I think this is a great presentation of the bottle and the boxing of Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. Ultra Male comes in the bottle sizes of 40, 75 and 125 ml bottles. And you have to pay about 70 euros or $80 for a 125 ml bottle. So how does Ultra Male smell then? What you get from this fragrance is a sweet, spicy fragrance. The main note in Ultra Male is for sure the vanilla note. But behind that vanilla you get a lot of sweetness from the pear and the amber, and I also believe there is some tonka beans in the base of this fragrance that really pushes all the other sweet notes up. Ultra Male is of course a flanker to the original Le Male that was released back in 1995, I believe. And this fragrance here does have the very base DNA of the original Le Male in its core somewhere, but it's very well hidden behind the layers of vanilla and sweetness. So when you first smell this one, it doesn't smell anything at all like the original Le Male. This is way sweeter, and because of the vanilla it leans a little more towards the feminine side than the original Le Male does. But once this fragrance dries down a little, a few hours into it, you can really feel the base DNA of Le Male is in there in this fragrance. When all of this vanilla and sweetness start to fade a little bit, you get a really good dose of the original Le Male in behind all of that. I think Ultra Male is an excellent flanker to the original Le Male. I love the original Le Male, but unfortunately it has been reformulated a lot, and now in 2018 it's a pretty weak fragrance actually. That is not the case with Ultra Male. On the contrary, I would say this is a really powerful, potent and strong fragrance. And it really blows my mind that this fragrance is only in eau de toilette concentration. This is almost borderlining a beast mode fragrance. So many people think that Ultra Male is the clubbing king fragrance. But what do you want from a clubbing fragrance really? You want a strong fragrance? Check for this one. This is really strong, projects really loud. It's really a room filler, this one. It lasts a long time too, so you don't have to reapply it when you go clubbing. When you go clubbing you want to get noticed, and the best way to get noticed with the fragrance is to have a really sweet fragrance. And Ultra Male is really sweet, so check for that too. So basically Ultra Male actually got all the properties that is needed for a good clubbing fragrance, and that is maybe why this one is considered the king of clubbing fragrances. But Ultra Male is in my mind so much more than a good clubbing fragrance. In itself it is a really good fragrance. The best way to describe it is if you take the original Le Male, you tone it down a lot, put it in the base of the fragrance, and on top of that you layer with a lot of sweetness and vanilla. Ultra Male also contains a really unusual note for men's fragrances, the note of pear. This pear note is very interesting. It adds to the overall sweetness of the fragrance, but it also makes the fragrance very unique for being a man's fragrance. Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier surely doesn't smell like any other fragrance on the men's fragrance market today. Ladies really seem to like this fragrance too, so is there any downsides to this fragrance? I can only think of one big downside to this fragrance, and that is that it is a little bit leaning toward the more feminine side. So the name is actually a little bit misleading. Ultra Male, you think this is a really manly, potent, masculine fragrance. It actually isn't. It is leaning towards the feminine side. In my collection, this is one of the most feminine smelling men's fragrances I have actually. So I would almost consider this fragrance a unisex fragrance. I can easily see women pull this one off. This is more a metrosexual fragrance than a real masculine one. So if you are going out clubbing and want to smell like a real man's man, then this is not a good fragrance for you. But if you are secure enough in yourself and your own masculinity and think that you can pull this one off, then this is a really great clubbing fragrance. Exactly how great is it? Let's find out and move on to the ratings of Ultra Male. So what's my opinion on Ultra Male? To be perfectly honest with you guys, when I first smelled this fragrance, I was not very impressed with it. Now I like really strong and sweet fragrances, that is no secret, but this one was just a bit too much feminine leaning for me. I almost felt that this was a woman's fragrance more than a man's fragrance. But over time this fragrance has really grown on me, and today I really do enjoy this fragrance a lot. Sometimes I can even find myself almost craving to smell this fragrance. And I especially like this fragrance a bit into the dry down, when the original Le Male DNA starts to come up a little and the sweetness settles a little. It's not a masterpiece in any way, but it's a well-crafted, good fragrance, and I give it a rating of 8. From what I have noticed, women in general seem to really enjoy this fragrance on a man. So what does my girlfriend think of this fragrance? Well, she is no exception. She also loves this fragrance. She thinks it's a really, really great fragrance. She had a bit of a cold when she tested this one out, and she said that this is really great, too bad that it's not so strong. I said, girl, you better be glad you have a cold right now, because this is overpowering strong. I sprayed like 4 sprays of this one. This would almost choke you out if you didn't have a cold. So she really liked it, and she gave it a rating of 8.5. And now to the strength of Ultra Male. This is a really, really potent and strong fragrance. For longevity you get 10 to 12 hours, more towards the 12 hours actually on skin. Projection, this is monstrous projection. 2 to 3 sprays and you will fill a room for like 3 to 4 hours. Projection is probably the best projecting fragrance that I have in my entire collection. Maybe with the exception of Ferragamo Uomo. But this one just pushes out and projects for like 4 straight hours before it finally starts to tone down a little. It doesn't really become a skin scent until like the 10th hour or something. So this is definitely a really strong and potent fragrance, one of the strongest in my collection, and I give it a strength rating of 9. Next up is the versatility rating, and this is a really sweet and strong fragrance, so you don't get too much versatility out of it. Sure, it's good to use for clubbing and maybe for casual wear, but other than that I don't see many occasions that this one is a really fitting fragrance. It is certainly too strong and too loud to use in the office or in the school. It's not really a classy fragrance, so it's not good for dressed up occasions. And this is a very sweet and playful fragrance. I think it's most suited for the younger crowd, maybe in their 20s or 30s. I don't think an older gentleman would really appreciate this fragrance too much. It's simply too loud, too obnoxious, and maybe too feminine leaning for them. But for the younger crowd, this is a great playful fragrance. And considering how sweet and strong it is certainly best used in the colder time of the years. I would say fall and winter is the best times to use this fragrance. In the spring and summer it just becomes overwhelmingly sweet and cloying. I have actually tried this one in the high summer heat once, and it's just not a good experience. Just let me leave it at that. So versatility is a bit limited, and I give it a versatility rating of 4. Lastly, we have the price rating. and you have to pay 70 euros or $80 for the biggest bottle of this one, which is this here, 125 ml bottle. So it's certainly not one of the most expensive designer fragrances out there, but it isn't really cheap either. It's somewhere in the middle, and I give it a price rating of 6. So would I recommend you guys watching this to get yourself Ultra Male if you already don't have it? Yes, I certainly would. There are some things you have to be aware of with this fragrance, however. It is obnoxiously loud. You will get noticed when wearing this fragrance for sure, and it is leaning a little bit toward the more feminine side. But as long as you're okay with those two facts, then this is a great fragrance. It is very good smelling, and it's also very unique smelling. And considering how much you get out of this fragrance in longevity and projection, it's a great value for money fragrance. It's not a masterpiece fragrance, but it is a really solid and good designer fragrance release from Jean Paul Gaultier. And I would especially recommend it if you, very much like myself, are into strong and sweet fragrances. So this was my review of Ultra Male by Jean Paul Gaultier. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to support me and my channel, please like and share this video. And if you don't want to miss any future videos or top lists, then please click the subscribe button. Until we meet again, go frag yourselves.